This is about the survival of the human race, a sign of the times, an analysis, and a commentary. The fourth angel has begun to sound. Gaza Hamas-Israeli Conflict, 2014. Israeli invasion of Gaza begins. Tenacity of Hamas leads to calls on Israel to expand mission, even as Israel and Hamas agreed to pause hostilities at the request of the United Nations. A senior Israeli military official said that his government was increasingly likely to order a ground invasion of the Gaza Strip, but it hoped to avoid. Though Israel initially set limited goals of halting the rocket assaults against it and degrading Hamas, the Islamist movement that dominates Gaza, the group's tenacity and surprisingly deep arsenal have led to widespread calls to expand the mission. The military official said only boots on the ground could eradicate terrorism from Gaza, and indicated that Israel was even considering a long-term reoccupation of the coastal territory. But with the Palestinian death toll reaching more than 214, Israel and the Gaza militants agreed to end the violence for 5 hours on Thursday, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. For Israel, it was a move that might help mitigate international criticism of rising civilian casualties and that carried little cost. The military warned that if Hamas or other groups exploited the humanitarian window to attack Israel, it would respond firmly and decisively. Earlier, Israel had called up 8,000 reservists, in addition to the 42,000 troops already mobilized, with no progress reported from Cairo, where President Mahmoud Abbas of the Palestinian Authority had gone to discuss terms to end the fighting. Israel's airstrikes intensified despite what the military official acknowledged were diminishing returns. Every day that passes makes the possibility more evident, the military official said of a ground campaign. The official, who has been briefing Israeli ministers responsible for strategic decisions, said that his assessment was based on the signals I get and that the likelihood of an invasion was very high. We can hurt them very hard from the air, but not get rid of them, he told a handful of international journalists in a briefing at the military's Tel Aviv headquarters. An Israeli takeover of Gaza would not be a huge challenge, he said, estimating that it would take a matter of days or weeks, but he added that preventing a more dangerous deterioration in the territory would require a presence of many months. The stark assessment came as Israel bombed scores of targets, many of them homes in northern Gaza, after warning 100,000 residents with leaflets, text messages, and automated telephone calls. Palestinian health officials said that more than 1,500 people had been injured since the Israeli operation began July 8th, and that several young children, including 4 boys on a beach, were killed in strikes on Wednesday. In Washington, President Obama called for both sides to exercise restraint, and Secretary of State John Kerry continued making phone calls to the region. The Israeli people and the Palestinian people don't want to live like this, Mr. Obama told reporters. We will use all of our diplomatic resources and relationships to support efforts of closing a deal on a ceasefire. President Obama reiterated his support for Israel while expressing sorrow over civilian casualties. Israel has a right to defend itself from rocket attacks, he said. But over the past 2 weeks, we've all been heartbroken by the violence, especially the death and injury of so many innocent civilians in Gaza. The Israeli military said that 132 rockets had been fired toward Israel on Wednesday, and that 33 of them had been intercepted by the Iron Dome missile defense system, including several over Tel Aviv and the southern city of Ashkelon. We will use as much force as necessary in order to bring back the quiet to the people of Israel. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told mayors of the battered southern cities, according to his office. The current campaign, Israel's third major military operation in Gaza in 6 years, followed mounting tensions after the June 12th abduction and killing of 3 Israeli teenagers who were hitchhiking home in the occupied West Bank, a crime Israel blamed on Hamas, and the July 2nd kidnapping and killing of a 16-year-old Palestinian in Jerusalem, which the authorities say was a revenge attack by Jewish extremists. So far, Israel has struck more than 1,800 sites in Gaza, topping the 1,500 targets hit over 8 days in November 2012, when 167 Palestinians and 6 Israelis were killed. The more intense Operation Cast Lead in 2008 and 2009 lasted 3 weeks, included a ground invasion, and killed 13 Israelis and about 1,400 Palestinians. The Israeli leaflets dropped in northern Gaza and some neighborhoods of Gaza City this week warned, whoever disregards these instructions and fails to evacuate immediately endangers their own lives as well as those of their families. It was unclear how many Gaza residents were heeding the call. Hamas has urged people to stay put, calling the warnings psychological warfare, but it was also clear that any military campaign of this magnitude in such a densely populated area would inevitably lead to civilian casualties. The senior Israeli military official also said the campaign had entered a higher level of operation, but had not yet diverted from its originally stated goal to restore quiet, not to rout Hamas or conquer Gaza. The point will be the exact time when the Israeli government will decide we are going to change method, he said. When they feel the current method or the current concept is no longer working for them, I believe they will order the military to do something else. A ground campaign, he added, will be much messier. And this, too, is another sign of the end of times as we know them, transition days, which is a time of extraordinary happenings, changes, and events, because it's still about what kind of world are we leaving to the future generations. And that should be a very important question to ask. Malachi chapter 2, verse 16. For the Lord, the God of Israel, says that he hates putting away, for one covers violence with his garment, saith the Lord of hosts. Therefore take heed to your spirit, that you deal not treacherously. 17. Ye have wearied the Lord with your words, yet ye say, wherein have we wearied him? When you say, every one that does evil is good in the sight of the Lord, and he delights in them. Or, where is the God of judgment? Chapter 3. Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me, and the Lord whom you seek shall suddenly come to his temple, even the messenger of the covenant, whom ye delight in. Behold, he shall come, saith the Lord of hosts. 2. But who may abide the day of his coming, and who shall stand when he appears? For he is like a refiner's fire, and like fuller's soap. 3. And he shall sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, and he shall purify the sons of Levi, and purge them as gold and silver, that they may offer unto the Lord an offering in righteousness. 4. Then shall the offering of Judah and Jerusalem be pleasant unto the Lord, as in the days of old, and as in former years. 5. And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be a swift witness against the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against false swearers, and against those that oppress the worker and his wages, the widow and the fatherless, that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, saith the Lord of hosts. Chapter 4. For behold, the day comes that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yes, and all that do wickedly, shall be stubble, and the day that comes shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, but it shall leave them neither root nor branch. 2. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise with healing in his wings, and ye shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. 3. And ye shall tread down the wicked, for they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord of hosts. 4. Remember ye the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments. 5. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. 6. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. Revelation chapter 16, verse 8. And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch humans with fire. 9. And humans were scorched with great heat, and blasphemed the name of God, which has power over these plagues, and they repented not to give him glory. 10. And the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom or nation was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain. 11. And blasphemed the God of heaven because of their pains and their sores, and repented not of their deeds. 12. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings and leaders of the east might be prepared. Yes, it's time for the physical and spiritual manifestation of the book of Revelation. And all these are more signs. The fourth angel has begun to sound. In other words, it's time to start getting rid of the weapons of mass destruction for the sake of all humanity and for the sake of the future generations. Because if it's not right, God will make it right.